Well, welcome to a special edition of the Caution Wet Paint podcast. I am joined here by Brian and Jess Fitzgibbons, and I just want to go through a quick introduction before we say hello to them. Brian and Jess are from Plymouth, Mass. They've been married for 15 years, raising two daughters who are both in middle school. Brian is the director of operations for a nationwide private security and investigations firm, also a U.S. Marine in the Iraqi War. He is a veteran. His wife, Jessica, taught 8th grade English for 11 years in the public school on the South Shore and now raising their two daughters. The reason that we have Brian and Jess on in this special edition of the Caution Wet Paint podcast is because I ran into Brian and Jess at our church, and they approached the congregation and they talked about and addressed a issue in the public schools regarding a new sexual health curriculum project that was geared towards 13 and 14-year-olds. So before we get into this, I just wanted to give you that little bit of a background. So let's take a second to say hello to Brian and Jess. Brian and Jess, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you here and to your audience about this. And, we were so psyched to meet you at New Hope.
Great. So now this special edition of the Caution Wet Paint podcast, and I'm sure Brian and Jess would agree here, this isn't about criticizing anyone. It's not about criticizing teachers. Because from what I understand, there's a lot of teachers out there that may not personally agree with the curriculum themselves. Mm-hmm. Instead, what our goal here is to raise awareness, encourage parents to review the material for themselves, form their own opinion, decide what's best for the child. But I think the issue and what sparked me to get Brian and Jess on was, from what I heard, the way this was communicated seemed very vague, which I believe is very important to address. And that's why we wanted to give Brian and Jess this platform. So that pretty much sum it up, guys. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, backing up, just giving an overview of kind of that vague nature that this was communicated. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was October 8th, that we got an email from the school district letting us know that a new sex ed program was going to be rolled out. You could opt your kids out if you'd like to. Click on this link if you'd like to opt them out. Clicked on that, and kind of buried in this document that it brought me to, it said all of the materials could be provided upon request. So I sent an email right away saying I'd like to review all materials. A couple of days later, I got an email back with a couple of PDFs with just an overview. Again, vague overview of some subjects that would be covered. I responded to that. I'd like to see all of the materials. Now, at this point, I was told, yes, you can see the materials. We're not going to send them out digitally, but you can make an appointment to come into the school to view them yourselves. So we said, sure, absolutely. You name the time and we will be there. It was a Friday that we got this information. And they were set to begin teaching. The opt-out deadline was the following Friday, 1 week from that day. We're going into Columbus Day weekend. Tuesday comes and goes, nothing. Wednesday comes and goes, nothing. Thursday, I sent an email, hey, haven't heard from you. Opt-out deadline is tomorrow. We'd like to come in and review all the materials. No, at that point, we were told, okay, you can come in. We went in that day. And we were shown a PowerPoint slide, or printed out PowerPoint slideshow in a binder, and given a list of videos that would be used. We went home, reviewed the videos, and we were horrified. We could only watch half of them because we only had links for half of them. And while we could maybe identify what other videos they were going to be using, there were some that there were multiple videos with that particular title, right? Or just no link provided and no title that we could find. So that next day, we emailed the department head and asked for links for all of the videos, and we got nothing. So this is Friday now. Friday comes and goes, nothing. The whole weekend comes and goes. Now, over the weekend, this is when we found out that this actually isn't a state requirement. School districts are not required to teach these sex ed frameworks. It's up to individual school districts. So at this point now, we realize that the Plymouth Public Schools are making the active choice to expose our kids to all of this. This is not a mandate. With that in mind, and with the fact that we still had not received all of the materials that would be used, we made the request to postpone this program until it could be adequately communicated to parents what they were going to be exposing the kids to, and ensure that all of the materials that would be used were age appropriate. And that's when, I mean, honestly, as a mother of 2 middle schoolers and as a former 8th grade teacher, I taught this exact age group that we're talking about.
Yes.
This is not, it's not age appropriate. This is just simply, it's common sense. This is not age appropriate. It wasn't fact-based. When we went through all of these things, we were simply horrified. And so we went to the health department head. We went to the school committee meeting. Brian spoke at the school committee meeting, imploring them to halt this. We went in and met with the superintendent, Dr. Campbell. And thankfully, he heard us. He made the decision to stop the program for now. So he halted the program to allow for there to be some review, which we're very grateful for, because that brings us now to this next stage of, we know that they are going to come out with a sex ed program. They're committed to that. They verbalized that to us. We just don't know what that will be. And so now we need to make sure that as many people as possible are aware that this is coming and are aware of what that first version held. Because too many people, we've talked to so many people about this, and it's turned into like a full-time job. Our phones are ringing off the hook with people with concerns now. And so often what we're hearing is that either people didn't get an email, missed the email, or they saw it and they dismissed it as just, anatomy and reproduction, and this is scientific, right? And we need to make sure that people know that this is not the case, and speak up if they're looking at this like we are and saying, whoa, this is not okay. Because as of the last time we met with the school, they thought that only 4 people were opposed to this. They had 3 opt-outs and us. We hadn't yet opted out. So they were aware of 4 families who opposed this coming into the school. So that's why right now we see this as an extremely important message to get out there.
Right, exactly. Now, this you mentioned something that I did not know. This isn't organized by Massachusetts. This is just in the Plymouth school system. And when we reference Plymouth, just for everybody to know, because this does go on LinkedIn, this is Plymouth, Massachusetts. So again, this is just the school district of Plymouth. So that would include middle school and high school. So
this is the frameworks that are put out. So the learning standards are Massachusetts state frameworks. So they were put out by the Department of Ed for Massachusetts.
Okay.
They're saying if school districts choose to implement sex ed, these are things that we are saying should be taught, right? And then each individual school district. So in our case, yes, that means Plymouth has a bunch of, I don't even know how many, a handful of elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools. So that's what we're talking about with our Plymouth Public School District. So Massachusetts is giving an option to teach these frameworks. Plymouth, Massachusetts, the school district is saying, we want to do that. And we're saying, don't.
Yes. So I think that's the important thing here. And what struck me when I heard you guys speak at our church and in front of the congregation was Brian said something along the lines was, these kids can't go and buy an R-rated movie ticket, but yet they're going to be exposed to this type of curriculum. So that's what hit me. And I think what really resonated was the fact that they tried to pull a fast one, it seems, and hide the email and not really make it an alarming thing for people to read into it.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head, Scott. You know, intentional or not, the way that process unfolded certainly seemed like that, right? And, you know, I spoke publicly at the school committee addressing that very fact that these things ought to be out in the sunlight for parents to review. And they should not be hidden or made difficult to access in any way. I think it's both reasonable and practical, to quote Mass General Law, Chapter 71, to say that if you have a PowerPoint, that could be digitally available for a parent, any parent in Plymouth to review. And foundational to, you know, the message that we're trying to give to parents and the community, because we believe this impacts everybody, is just what I said at New Hope. These kids can't buy their own ticket to a rated R movie. They can't go get their ears pierced on their own. There are a number of things, you know, our laws of our Commonwealth reflect protection of children, of what they're seeing or exposed to. And it defies common sense to show these graphic videos about contraception, sexual consent, implying that the viewers are able to give sexual consent at the age of 13. And I think, you know, from our perspective, and you mentioned this up front, you know, we're not here, and when we're out here having these conversations, we're not trying to say or insinuate that anybody is intentionally nefarious in this process. You know, our society is plagued with this desire that pleasure and truth doesn't exist, and that pleasure is the master of all things, right? And we're here to counter that and hopefully highlight the common sense argument here. These are 13-year-olds. This isn't right to show them. So I think to kind of take a step back and say, what is the rationale for implementing a program that's this aggressive, right? Particularly teaching 13-year-olds contraception and how to give sexual consent, which, you know, according to Mass General Law, the age of consent is 16 with no close in age exemption. So I just want to put that out there up front.